Demolition Daily LiveStream. I'm your host, Mark Anthony. Hope you had a good weekend and you're fully refreshed for a day at work, or possibly, like me, yet another day at home. Now, today marks the start of Mental Health Awareness Week. At least it does here if you're here in the UK. If you're in North America, you'll have to wait until October to demonstrate your awareness. Quite a single global event, frankly, is a bit mental in itself, but maybe that's the idea. Anyway, to kick off Mental Health Awareness Week, I'm joined today by Danny Kearney of ProSafe Consultants. Danny is ex-armed forces and is a vocal advocate for mental health awareness. He's also a keen amateur baker, an annoyingly good photographer, and only the second person to make a return appearance on the live stream. So good afternoon, Danny.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the intro, Mark. Very flattering.
How's the baking going?
Yeah, it's pretty tough at the minute because there's no flour. Or flour's hard to come by. Can only get white flour at the minute, so there's a lot of white bread. But yeah, we're getting there. Yeasts are low as well, so it's all sourdough.
You were ahead of the curve in a lot of ways, weren't you? You were baking long before the lockdown began.
I was, yeah. I started the baking as a bit of stress relief whilst waiting for my third child to pop out. So pop out.
I'm not sure bread baking is stress relieving at all. I'm stood by the oven getting all excited about it coming out again. Yeah, but then you can tell by my figure.
Yeah, definitely. It's really good, and we've been doing quite a bit of it. But like I say, different type of bread baking, sourdough and white flour mainly. But yeah, still there, still doing it.
Fantastic. Well, if I run out here, I know exactly where to find you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, I've mentioned the fact that it is Mental Health Awareness Week here in the UK. My first question, I guess, is this an issue that still requires a dedicated week? I thought we were at least at the dawning of an enlightened age when everyone was aware of mental health issues. I take it that's not the case.
No, there has been some talk about it in various different press, and various different experts have talked about, if we're trying to normalise this, why are we still having a dedicated week towards it? But I think there's still some way to go. The awareness thing, I think we're getting at. Maybe in the future we'll have a mental health action week where we're actually starting to take positive steps and positive moves forward. A bit like the conversation we had, which I'm sure you'll tell the sort of listeners about and the viewers about. But the awareness is fantastic. But if we're not actually physically actioning what we're finding, our findings through being aware, then I don't really see that it's going to move forward. It's just going to be a stagnated. Everyone knows what it is, but does everyone know what to do about it?
Yeah, it's interesting you should say that. As I say, we have had the conversation previously, and my take, I'm always struck by this idea. You drive past an abandoned car by the side of the road, and it has "Police Aware" tape written all over it. Well, if the police are aware, why didn't they do something about it? And I've just got a really sneaking suspicion that we do the same with mental health. We're all very quick to say that we're aware of the issue. We have our training courses and our little campaigns and initiatives, but are we actually addressing the root causes? Because you and I have discussed in the past that in a lot of ways demolition is a bit of a perfect storm as far as mental health issues are concerned. There's constant threat over job security, finance, isolation, and all that goes with it. And I get the impression we're very quick to jump on the awareness, but we're not quite so quick to jump on as you say, the root causes.
Yeah, this is something that's been really pushed and championed by a lot of the mental health training providers, a lot of the campaigners, a lot of the charities. Certainly, some of the charities I've been looking at recently, Young Minds, Mind, Mental Health First Aid England, they are now all proactively looking at and offering up free resources for actually achieving something, so actually making something happen. So a good example of that would be Action for Happiness. .org. We can sort of throw the link up later. It's a really useful resource for people because it actually gives you tools to do. So they recently sent out an email to people that are following them or subscribing and put some stuff on social media. And it's a 10-day how to be kind, how to be happy kind of practical thing. So you work through the 5 or 10 minute exercises and it actually gives you some tools to use rather than just say being happy is really good, or being kind is really good, you know, or as this week was about sleep until it changed and became kindness because of the COVID-19 situation. It's all well and good saying you need a lot of sleep, or you need 8 hours of sleep, but if you don't give people the tools to do it. So I am seeing a real change and a real positive step forward in lots more practical information.
I mean, you said that's at organisation and charity level, but are you seeing that reflected in demolition and construction firms? As I say, I am a cynical old sod, and I just have a horrible feeling that some people have embraced mental health awareness as, you know, it's a tick in the box to say we've done that, but are they actually looking further and doing what needs to be done to address the problems that we've got?
Yeah, I hope so. I can't say for certain. I have seen lots of proactive approaches, and I've seen companies really embracing it. And the analogy that I've sort of used when I deliver training or when I talk to people is to not allow well-being, to not allow mental health to become, you know, the apple, the fruit after your dinner, or the fruit at your dinner. If you've still got a massive moundful on your plate, that fruit's just going to roll off, or that muffin or that dessert, whatever it is just going to roll off the top. We businesses, and many are doing this. I work with lots of different clients, as you know, and many are doing this. They're carving out time in the work arena, within the working hours, to make sure that people are able to carve some space out on their plate for this well-being, this mental health, and this kindness, and everything that we talk about, to actually sit in there and not roll off and land on the floor. And that's the important challenge. Is it's all well and good. I think we talked about it last time. It's all well and good having a free fruit Friday, or a stop and have a tea break Tuesday. But if actually people don't eat fruit anyway, only the fruit eaters will eat it. And if people haven't got time to stop and have a tea break, they're not going to stop and have a tea break on Tuesday because the company's saying that that's what we're doing for mental health. On the whole, I think businesses are now proactively working to give people door-to-door time. I mean, in the situations, giving people lots of time at home at the minute, maybe not for the best reasons, but before this, I've started to see companies really proactively pushing the policies around 12-hour door-to-door policies, so people aren't out of their house for longer than 12 hours, and shorter in some instances, and genuinely offering up mental health and well-being solutions that fit within the business, rather than just try and sit on top of an already busy, overloaded schedule.
Now, given all you've mentioned COVID-19, it's hard to avoid the subject, but given all that's going on, are you seeing more demand for health awareness, training and guidance within your business?
We haven't in so much as, I think it's because a lot of the businesses are already dealing with some quite challenging times. Quite a few people are still furloughed or sadly, you know, made redundant, or jobs no longer required, jobs no longer able to keep on board. The clients that we've delivered training for, are coming back to us and asking us to support with, very similar to what we're doing more now, podcasts, webcasts, and short sort of chats. We've done something for Barclay Homes recently, you know, 5 wellbeing chats. We're talking to Sky on Wednesday for some of their team. Again, just almost bolstering what we've discussed, and just say this is normal. It's happening to everybody, and we are seeing a bit of an increase in people looking for online training to try and fill out the demand that they have within their business. But of course, that's relatively slow moving, because adaptation is required from people who are used to working online. There's no doubt about that, but not everybody's used to delivering or receiving training over a full day, or half a day, whatever the case may be. But yeah, there is. I'd say it's pretty much the same, and I think as businesses start to have their staff come back in, as people start to fill their roles again, we'll start to see a bigger increase in the demand, but more so the demand for what can we do, rather than needing to understand it, because I think this has given people the opportunity to understand and read a lot about themselves when you've got time on your hands, and when virtually every industry body is talking about and managing and posting information about looking after your physical health and your mental health, being kind to each other, being grateful, taking notice of your surroundings, the 5 ways to well-being, because they know that it's a big pressure and certainly an unprecedented pressure on people.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny you should mention the fact that people are aware. I just had this in from Scott Lee. I don't know if you can see that on your screen.
Yeah.
Scott is a Scot, but he's over in the States. It has been for about 30 odd years. They're sending out a mental health bulletin every week, which is great to hear, along with advice from their HR department. So hats off to you guys. You've alluded to the fact that this Mental Health Awareness Week is themed around kindness.
Yeah.
In the nicest possible way. Kindness isn't a term I would normally associate with the demolition business.
No.
Is there room for kindness in business and in general, and in demolition in particular, or do you think that's likely to be perceived as a sign of weakness, as it were?
Yeah, possibly. It's a really difficult question, and the theme tends to be that people, we're talking about being kind to one another, to each other, and being kind to yourself, and that whole, much the same as charity starts at home kind of theory, kindness starts at home in the same respect. If you can be kind to yourself, and there are many ways to do that, I'm sure. Imaginations can run wild around how to be kind to yourself, but fundamentally we're talking about looking after your physical health, looking after your sleep hygiene and your sleep health, looking after your mental health, which is what we're talking about now. And they all go together, your nutrition and everything else that combines to make you healthy and happy in the best possible sense, outside of any other, condition or medical condition that you may be dealing with. So if we drive it from that point of view, being kind to ourselves, kindness tends to be infectious, and that then rolls down. Kindness in business, often perceived as a weakness, and businesses can be, not often perceived, but could be perceived as a weakness, and businesses can be guilty of needing to, I say guilty like it's a problem, but businesses need to be robust and proactive about their work ethic and making sure that people do the right thing. So if you took away the word kindness and replaced it with legally compliant, looking after the health and well-being and welfare of your staff, making sure that your business is efficient and you can continue to look after your staff and run your business and do all the things that you have to do, then that's kind by default, I would suggest. But where kindness and compliance meet, maybe there's a little bit of a crossover. But I think,
I mean, the interesting thing from that point of view, and I'm not in demolition. I'm on the periphery of it, and there's a couple of companies that spring immediately to mind, like AR Demolition and Armac, who they've largely built their reputation on the fact that they take very, very good care of their people, and their people as a result are very loyal. They're very well thought of. The company goes from strength to strength. There is actual financial or potentially financial value in taking better care of each other, isn't there?
Yeah, I completely agree. Armac is a good example, and also for those of you that obviously will follow in the demolition industry, we work with it. But McGee's have just handed over their company, or effectively made their employees owners of their company, in a similar sort of process to give the people that work within the company the power over the company and the ownership of it. So whilst it might look from the outside to be an unkind industry, I think it is generally a kind industry. It typically has paid well and better than construction. The conditions are getting a lot better, and certainly amongst the companies that you and I deal with, Mark, over here in the UK, definitely standards are improving. And I think more importantly is probably to concentrate on ourselves and be kind to ourselves, and just accept that we need space, we need time, and we need to look after our health and well-being, and then that should benefit moving forward.
I'm not sure if it counts as kindness, but one of the things that's impressed me, typical British Dunkirk spirit, the way that we, as a nation, we've rallied behind the NHS and frontline workers, with the weekly applause and everything else. When this current crisis is finally declared over, how do we retain that feeling of unity and, I guess, gratitude is the word?
Gratitude is, yeah. Unfortunately, and I'm not being skeptical or pessimistic by any means. I'm definitely on the side of optimism majority of the time, but there will be a relaxation and a fall back into what we probably saw as the norm. I believe that spirit has always been there and is always there, and I'm a patriot, and having served in the forces and accepted that role, I am patriotic. Rough with the smooth for me with this country, and it's always been the same. I think generally people are polite and kind, but life gets in the way. So I'm hoping that a bit like a lot of things, that you can bombard it and everyone takes it up. I don't know. I can't think of a really good example. Maybe something that you might throw at a blanket that might stick and some might not. There's going to be some retention, and a lot of people are just going to actually step back and accept that things have changed and we do need to appreciate more. There will also be a rebound, a political rebound. And that's going to generate anxiety and stress and tension within people, because they're going to say, well, why were the NHS allowed to get to this point where we didn't have the resources, for example? And it's not a political rant, but and why now? Why is it taking this for us to realise? But fundamentally, it takes something big for us to realise what we've got, to take notice, which is one of the 5 ways to wellbeing, to stop and look and to actually, we're really lucky. Majority of us have got our health. The majority of us have stayed safe as best we can, and the people, all of the frontline people, the firefighters, the police, the ambulance, the delivery drivers, the shopkeepers, you name it, that have kept the country running, deserve our gratitude, and I think that will remain. I think it's always been there, but I think it will remain on the whole.
Yeah, I mean, certainly my daily or my weekly column rather this morning, I was mentioning that we've just had VE Day, and for the once in a year, and once after 75 years, we've acknowledged the fact that the heroes that gave their lives and the ultimate sacrifice there. We've now got another crisis where we're doing the same. It would just be such a shame if all of that just fades away when all this is over and done with.
It would be, to keep that momentum. Obviously, we need the backing of the country to keep that momentum. I think it exists, and I think there'll be recognition. And the other reality is that we won't see the back of this to what we consider as normal for quite a considerable amount of time. I think there's every likelihood that we're going to see increased spikes, relapses, maybe localized isolation, and we have to accept that the sort of common theory around complacency, when the most accidents, within a couple of miles of home, or on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday morning, to just get it done kind of mentality. And we are creeping back into that. It's human nature for the body to sort of try and appreciate and understand the circumstance and make the best of it. But in this instance, we've got to remain vigilant. I sound like Boris Johnson when I say that, but we have got to remain vigilant. We have got to remain focused on what exactly it is that's just happened. And I think that along with the government making sure that this isn't forgotten, and that this is acknowledged and stamped in history, which would be difficult not to, will keep that kindness and it'll keep that gratitude bubbling at the surface.
I sincerely hope you're right, Danny. It's been great to speak to you. I'm sure you've got bread to tend to, or something very similar. Where can viewers find out more about you and the services that you provide? I've seen you on LinkedIn, obviously, but is there somewhere quicker to get to you?
Well, you can go to our website, www.prosafeconsultants.com. I am on LinkedIn. If you want to look at my bread, then I'm at Solar Powered Badger on Instagram. And ultimately, if I've forgotten anything, get in touch with you, and I'm sure you'll be glad to pass on my details. And yeah, we're happy to help out wherever we can, even if it's just a 5-minute chat. So
you're an absolute star, Danny. Thanks very much. I'm not going to dwell on why you're called Solar Power Badger right now. We'll do that on another show.
Yeah, maybe later at night. Thanks a lot, Mark.
All the best, Danny. Take care.
Ta-da. Bye.
Bye-bye. That's better. Yeah. The thing that was going wrong there was me pressing the wrong buttons. Thanks a lot for your time today, Danny. Really appreciate it. Always good value. Always a great guy to speak to. So if you do need to find him, we will put a link in the show notes and the description for today's show, direct to Danny and his company. Now, all things being equal, our guest tomorrow will be AR Demolition's Richard Dolman, the soon-to-be president of the Institute of Demolition Engineers. I don't think Richard will mind me saying, in fact, I've already said it, his company, AR Demolition, has a reputation for taking exceptionally good care of its workforce. So I'll be interested to find out how Richard has reconciled that during the current COVID-19 crisis and trying to keep the wheels turning. Just one final thing before I sign off for the day, and Danny has already mentioned Instagram. A mate of mine, Nick Drew of the Diggerman blog, is just a few followers short of the magic 50,000 followers mark. He's a lovely bloke. He takes a mean photograph and shoots some good video as well. So if you're into diggers and that kind of thing, please consider giving him a follow. As I say, it's Diggerman blog on Instagram. If by the time you get to Instagram and have a look, he's already passed the 50,000 mark, then you don't need to do anything, but congratulations, Drewy. Well deserved, and keep up the good work, mate. In the meantime, stay safe, look after yourself, look after your mental health and your physical health, look after your family, your friends and your colleagues, and I will see you again, hopefully technology allowing, with Richard Dolman. This time, same place tomorrow. I'll see you again very, very soon. Thank you.